Everyone, Teddy here at the Tudor booth with Ander Ugarte, Head of Design at Tudor.
Hello, everybody.
First of all, nice to meet you finally.
It's my pleasure also.
So you've been with Tudor since 2008, and I want to give people context that are watching before we jump into the new novelties. That time for Tudor, and we were talking about this beforehand, I think you deserve a lot of kudos because what has happened with the brand since then? You've seen the introduction of Black Bay, Pelagos, these fixtures within your collection. I think you've done a remarkable job. Could you talk about the philosophy for design at Tudor? When you enter a new project, a new model that you're looking to create, where do you start and what do you think about maintaining that philosophy throughout the process?
It depends also the kind of line I have to design. I mean, it's much more classical oriented, or much more sport oriented. It depends also what happened in time. You know, when I first came in Tudor in 2008, the idea was to maybe to try to find back the real identity of the brand. And I think that we managed to we reach something with the Black Bay, and then continue working on that line and presenting different other versions. For the classical lines, it's another world. I mean, you have to respect some rules for the classical line, combining some materials, using maybe different sizes, using different kind of dials. Is another philosophy, but for a designer, it's really interesting trying to match to the different briefs and try to reach them and see the commercial success after.
Sure. So to start us off here, I think the biggest surprise from the novelties this year was with a whole new collection.
Yeah.
Black Bay Pro. Now, could you talk about this watch, first from maybe just the general breakdown of the case and maybe some of the design elements, but also why you decided to start a new model family for the introduction of the GMT into a 39mm case?
So the idea is having another version of a GMT, more a tool watch, let's say, a contemporary watch with a strong vintage inspiration also. But at the same time, to work the contemporary side of the watch, we have introduced details such the hour markers that are made of ceramic, luminescent ceramic. So that gives also, if the color it's a little bit beige, that remains maybe old watches, but it's also a modern touch. It's a new technique. It's a new way to express the volume of the hour markers, for example. What is for me interesting also is to work the hand, the 24-hour hand, inspired also of the snowflake, but with a new shape. And then, of course, reworking details such the crown here, that is slightly bit different from
riveted.
the rest.
It has a different approach.
Yes. The tooths are a little bit stronger than on the other models of the Black Bay line. So this is the evolutions in terms of design. And the idea also, even you mentioned it's 39 millimeters. I work also the profile of the watch in order to
condense on the thickness.
Yes.
So the MT5652, that same movement that was in the GMT, that GMT, the original GMT was thicker watch. And I'm sure you were fighting to try to bring down this. We've seen this with the Pelagos recently. We've seen this with the Black Bay Chrono.
Yes.
What were the thought process and how were you able to bring down that about half a millimeter? I noticed that there's maybe less distance between the dial again. Is that something that's happened?
Yeah, because the glass is something that we introduce almost also with the chronograph. It's dome one, but it's carved inside. That allows us to put a little bit higher the hands and the dial. You have to think also that in this version, the GMT one, we have 4 hands up
additional
on the
hand
dial.
stack.
So we have additional also height to deal with.
Sure.
And of course, we can also try to put some height on the back case, and the rest you have to manage to do something balanced on the side of the case.
So, and you're working with a 7.5 millimeter movement on top of that, and then casing it up, additional hand. So,
Yes.
because many people were talking about thickness, and I know there's some inherent challenges when it comes to
I'm
using
doing
that
my
movement.
best.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
With the movement I have,
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
and it's my job. I mean,
Absolutely. Now you also, which I think this is great to see, started to move the T-Fit clasp into other models. This was unveiled with the 58 bronze that you
Yes.
did. So this is now extending into other families as well.
Yes, here we have also the T-Fit. It's with the system very easy to slide and change the dimension of the bracelets.
Great.
You can adjust depending on the heat and your wrist.
It's wonderful. No tools. So moving along to some other models here. So this seemed to be the year of S&G for Tudor.
Yes.
Last year we saw you were having some more fun with different case materials, sterling silver, a gold Black Bay 58.
Yes.
What did you learn from putting out those designs, and when you were going into the design room and thinking about this next year, were there any takeaways from that launch last year as you started to look at maybe the potential of the S&G?
Mm-hmm. Let's say that our Black Bay family is growing. From some models we are playing with materials, like you mentioned last year for the 58. Others we are playing on another way, mixing steel and yellow gold. So this is the case for our new GMT.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is to offer a richer version using the same kind of gold we use also in this chronograph,
Mm-hmm.
with the brush finishing, the gold bezel, and combining those two tones bezel with brown and black. The idea is to find the right tone to match in the best way to the warmth of the gold. And also we have a beige superluminova that gives to the older watch a warmer feel, in my opinion, with this dial also. So this a very warm model for me.
And is the thickness also brought down on this as well compared to the previous, or is this?
In this case, we have the same case that we have in the steel one.
Okay.
So it's
Understood.
another process.
Okay.
It's just a version of existing model.
Okay, exactly. Okay. Now the S&G chronograph.
Yes, in this case, for this model is a new bezel, a new dial.
Mm-hmm.
With a new color. It's a champagne color with a sun ray finishing. So when you move a little bit the watch, you have this light going around. So it's also a warm champagne colored dial that for me goes really well with the rest of the bracelet and elements of the watch.
Moving to the other S&G model. So big news here is you're also getting your MT movements in these new Black Bays at every single size. So these come in a variety of sizes now too. 4
different sizes from 31, 36, 39, and 41.
So the decision to put the MT movements in here, that's a big upgrade. Bracelet also is wonderful.
Yeah, for us it was the opportunity also to get a little bit farther on the design of this watch. It was an existing collection. Mm-hmm. But we rework the side of the case, making it dome to have a softer feeling. We have changed the finishing of the gold. Now it's polish.
Mm-hmm.
We have a polished bezel, and also the gold elements, the gold links of the bracelet are polished and on the bracelet. So we also have changed the clasp
T-Fit?
With the T-Fit, but using also our 5 links bracelet, mm-hmm. With the same sliding technique. And of course, also the crown is new. Okay. It's a little bit smaller and a little bit in the same direction that we rework on the Pro. And for the rest also, for the hands, there's still snowflake, but the proportion is slightly smaller. And also the second hand has changed with a little, let's say, lollipop effect on the.
Oh yes,
on the,
I didn't notice that the first time I looked at these.
Yeah, before it was more
Snowflake.
like a square. Yeah.
Yes.
Snowflake. So this is also a small detail evolution, and of course the movement you mentioned that we have in all the sizes,
All
from
the
the
sizes,
smaller and to the big one. So for us it's important because we have introduced in our 31 millimeters our new in-house movement, the smaller one.
And all COSC certified, 70
Yes.
hour power reserve.
Not the smaller, it's 50 because
Okay,
it's
50, smaller.
smaller.
Barrel smaller.
But
yes. Okay.
yeah.
Understood. Wonderful. Now, there's also one other model that was not a Black Bay that was released, and that was the Royal. Before we jump into just looking at that one, how do you find a balance between the success of the Black Bay, but also not neglecting other lines? I mean, how do you, with a designer, of course you have to appeal to what's most popular, but also I'm sure there's a desire sometimes to want to make sure that everything is covered and thought about. How do you navigate that?
I put the same energy design in a Black Bay than other products. I mean, maybe there is much more focus on Black Bays, but classical line are really important also for us. And we are working with the idea for those classical line to reinforce its own identity for each line. So that was the case for the Tudor Royal. The idea is to propose for this line an integrated bracelet and case, so which was a little bit different from the other options we have on the other lines, such as 1926
Sure.
and Glamour and other classical lines. So we have this integrated bracelet and case. And for this fair, we are proposing a new bezel set with diamonds, only in 28 millimeters size for this model, and with the mother of pearl dial.
And there's also a gold option as well, two-tone?
Yes, yes, we have both options.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Is there, I have to ask, is there a watch that you're, maybe there's like something in the design process? Because when you are taking in all the watches throughout the week, you just see kind of the very high-level view of what is seen. You don't actually get into the details. Was there something that you did with the design process of one of these models that you're like, someone might not notice how much time I put into that, but I put a lot of time into that? Is there a part or aspect of these watches?
Maybe the thing that it seems to be really, let's say, can be basic, but it's the color, of, for example, of hand. Finding the right yellow is sometimes matching the color of yellow. We don't have it here on the tray, but we have also a fabric strap with a yellow line, and sometimes trying to match, for example, the yellow line of the fabric strap with the color of the hand. It's really, really tough because you have two different industrial processes. And maybe you can give the same Pantone code to both suppliers, but the result is totally different. So sometimes you have
trial and error.
Try and try and try, and sometimes it's 3, 4, 5 trials before we reach the right one. So this seems to be a small details, but sometimes is the hardest.
Well, it was worth it because, at least if my opinion matters, the Black Bay Pro is, I think, my favorite from the new collection. I think you did a fantastic job with this one. It just pops. Well, Ander, thank you so much for the time. It was great to get an idea from the designer's perspective on these new novelties, and I'd love to do it again and maybe visit you at your manufacturer at one point and maybe see something behind the scenes.
Thank you very much. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Okay. So long, everybody.